Well, see, the simplest thing to do is blame it on the race issue. I mean, because it's always going to be an issue and it's always going to be in your face, period. But what we have been talking about under these lines and these conversations, it's not really an issue of race, it's an issue of economics.
Yeah.
You know, and going to that, and you going to, and most people, and the easiest thing to blame it on, because it's the easiest thing to see that's different between an individual is the skin color, and that's why they base race. Really, because a black man can be whiter than the whitest man, albino, but it's all the economic issue. Like if you put it together, you know, most black men that are in prison on drug charges.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then those black men did not have the economic resources to get a good lawyer.
I think one day we were listening to a lecture and they were talking about all the figures, the black population in jail, which represent almost half of the total population. And while it's black people are only about 14–15% of the population in America. What I say is, it's nice to look at those figures and then look at it through the lens of racism. But what we don't tell ourselves is, what is the responsibility that we have to make that, to stop that from happening? And I think that's the problem. I think we're focusing so much on the, I think we're not really getting the right, we don't know exactly what the causes are. I think when people were saying, okay, how do we solve the problem? What I would say is that, no, you cannot solve the problem if you don't know even what the problem is. And I think the problem is we still, in a way, don't know what the problem is. Racism, for me, it's not the problem. I think what racism, it's not the cause of maybe black people not doing well. I think black people not doing well is the cause of racism. That's how I see it. Because today Michael Jordan is not black. He's a man, he's a successful man, a great man, who happens to have a black skin. That's how I see it. When I look at Cornel West, a successful man, a great guy, who happens to have black skin. That's how I see it. But whenever you start in a way not doing well, therefore to justify that, you start using racism. Or people, when they see a group of people not doing well, maybe the easiest thing to say is, oh, maybe because they're black, so they're not doing well. But whenever people start doing well, that race thing disappear. Disappear in the sense that it doesn't become a problem. It just may be a natural fact that black, so what? But it's not really a problem in itself. So people people will really stop seeing you as black, but just as a human being.
I don't know about that, because you have a lot of athletes. I mean, Michael Vick was God's gift to earth until he got arrested for dogfighting. Then he just became a street nigga with money. So if Michael Jordan did something that was on the lines of what Michael Vick did and was unacceptable to society, he would be a street nigga with money. And Kobe Bryant was a
rapist for the longest time.
He was the prime example of that. He had all kinds of endorsement deals and everything like that. He was like the gift, you know, playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the best franchises in sports. And as soon as he got that charge, it's his whole.
It took him a while because he was so great. He was able to salvage his career, but it really hit
him. It affected his life and it changed, and it just changed drastically. So I understand what you're doing I understand what you're saying about Michael Jordan, but if he runs into a bump in the road like most human beings do, it's on different levels. He will just become another black man. Or you can attribute that to his upbringing.
And also, I just think there's also like it becomes a problem. Like the figures we were looking at to represent the black population are just pretty much like too extreme. Like, you know, we talked about Obama, how he's elected. Yes, we have moved in society as well, but Obama doesn't represent the rest of, like, you know, African American. Like his background is, his schooling basically. Let's look at his schooling. Like, what schools did he go to? He went to private schools, which his grandparents paid for him to go. So he got some level of education which a normal African American in the United States would not have afforded. You see, and that's one thing. Michael Jordan and others, Kobe and everyone, like they are extremely talented people. And not everyone is as talented as them to be able to to reach that level. So let's look at the ordinary Black American, African American. Who comes from home, the mother is struggling to basically keep the family and make ends meet. Like, how do they end that opportunity? I know America is a land of opportunity, but if you don't work extremely hard, of course you can. But provided the schools you have, and how they are basically equipped and facilitated and whatever, amount of funding and everything, how are they able to step up now to get a college degree and everything from there? And it's especially like enduring the family life, like there's also the family time. If your father is like getting arrested or part of your family is broken up, that affects you how you grow up as a kid. Like, and it also affects your performance in school. So how do we read? Chicago is a great example. It's been on the news for the recent past year. The shootings, young kids are being killed on the streets. So they're trying to figure out how. But it's within communities. How do you basically get those kids enough support? How do you get the community, the neighborhoods, like to basically stop the violence? They're trying everything, but how is it to change people's mentalities in a neighborhood level, just a neighborhood? You're killing kids. What for? So those small things. How do you do that?
And I have answers. No, first of all, Obama doesn't represent. You say it's true. Obama doesn't represent the Black community. Obama represents America. So it's bigger than that.
It's big,
so Obama,
precisely.
we like it,
Absolutely.
we agree or not, Obama really reflects America. No, seriously, like, I'm serious. Maybe you can make the claim that he didn't grow up like this, he didn't grow up like that, but he really, in a way, embodies that American dream power and what all America is about. So that's one thing. He's extreme, yes. His success, different from most of the people, yes. But what I seem to hear from a lot of people is that you can look at Obama and say, if Obama did it, we can also do it. That's not my type. I don't have role models. I don't work with role models, but at least for the average people. I think that's why, in a way, Obama's election becomes historic, because there are a lot of people who maybe don't have a lot of inspiration who will use Obama. But not only Obama is extreme, but I was talking about Cornel West, I was talking about a lot of great scholars. Here at Orlam only, Charles Watson. A great guy. What Charles Watson was telling me is that when he was younger than that, when he was in high school, the discussion is not about going to college. It's about going to the best college. And he's telling me that maybe when even racism was a much bigger issue. So I think what I'm looking at, there's really a disconnect between the past and the present. I think that's why, in a way, I have a problem using institutional racism or race as an issue. Because I tend to think because when you're talking about maybe education, class issues, and education and people who will not be able to make it and all that stuff, I say, well, that's the problem. And when you start focalizing on that issue about maybe people are not getting education, maybe their parents are not taking care of them, therefore you start really moving away from race and start going into class issue. Because I think that's what makes Obama great. When you look at Obama, Obama is not saying, I'm going to work toward fighting racism. Because he understood that the problem in America is about class issue.
Or as he sees it.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem in a way. Because in my understanding is that whenever you start it's like, just look at a lot of black neighborhood. Chica, the author of Capitalist Nigger, was saying, that's why I was saying, what does it even mean to be a black person? I think we need to redefine it, because I don't think it means the same thing. Chika was saying, as in what he noticed in his black neighborhood is, as soon as people start getting being successful, they leave. Meaning that this notion of we black people is really a myth, or maybe it doesn't mean so much. That's why I was saying that maybe we should start looking at it from a class issue and say maybe race doesn't have so much to do with it. Maybe it does, but we shouldn't look at that issue through the lenses of race.